I would like to introduce the chairperson for the session, and I would like to introduce Shiv for the chair's role. Dr. Shiva has 25 years of experience in hiring and managing more than 100,000 workforces globally and ensuring that the skills, knowledge, abilities, and performance of the workforce meet the current and future business requirements. He holds the global patent on global workforce management maturity, model, and analytics. Shiva has done PhD in workforce management maturity, and he holds MBA in operations management from the Swiss University and PhD in management. I'll hand over the mic to Shiva now.
All right. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction, Garima. In fact, I want to talk about this fit organization model. This has been my perspective and also outcome of a recent research, which I've been doing since last 6 months before the COVID and also post-COVID. This is something that every organization should really look at, getting the fit organization model. What is this fit organization? In fact, I'm going to cover aspects of the future workforce landscape in the organization and organization's future readiness and talent tech essentials for the organizations before and after COVID, and a recent crisis which has really changed the organization's engagement, right? And very importantly, workforce. What is the workforce we're going to have? FTE, gig, and contingent workforce. And how can organizations take greater ownership to upskill, reskill, cross-skill, and utilize workforce optimally? And what is important now? Is it a cost or the future readiness, or what is it, most of the organizations are looking at it? The talent right sizing is something very important. In fact, I want to talk about, what is fat, weak, and fit organizations model, and then how one can really get to the maturity level. Okay, so I got this to show that how fat organizations get the lean profits, and how the fit organizations can give us the fat profits. This is something that not seen, even Fortune 500 companies are still fat organizations. They have no idea that how revenue leakage is happening and how they are not able to utilize the resources optimally, and also they're not really scaled up for the future business scenarios. I'll give you some of the examples of the companies how they're really been lacking in terms of not getting the right sizing done. Either they are hiring big time or stopped hiring and started firing, and then no clue that who should be hired and who should be recruited or hired. In fact, to tell that this is my research. In fact, GWFM has done research recently, and also this has been evident where HR and workforce management put together in next 3 to 4 years as 20 billion USD potential business. Talking about the technology, talking about the initiatives, talking about the engagements, also talking about team, which are going to be there in worldwide. There's a huge potential. This COVID has really a great blessings for technology enhancement. The two HR and WFM tech is concerned. There's a 20 billion USD opportunity. I'm not just talking. This is absolutely more than 20 billion USD. Let's take a look at what is next. In fact, during the research, we found that there's something that GWFM and a couple of our alliances where we looking at something, how we can really have the business continuity model, what really helps us to get there. Important thing, we thought that just-in-time talent, just-in-time resources, getting the right people at the right time, at the right cost, at the right place does not exist now. We can work from anywhere, right? So all virtual workplace. All important thing is getting the right resource at the right costing. So very important. Everyone is really looking at cheap resource engagement in the projects or the deliverables, and how do I really improve my margin? How do I really improve my profitability? And how do I really cut down the cost of the headcount? 65% of the cost of the organization is on the salaries. So how do you really get there? This is one of the things that where getting the right people at the right cost is something very important. Like, how do you really engage the remote workforce and the 20 billion USD business, which I was talking about, it includes attendance system, employees tracking system, and getting the right resource at the right time, and the utilization of the resources, building ROI model, getting the workforce management model in place, and also this as a tech cost of capacity planning, scheduling, and the reskilling, upskilling, and also the forecasting of the talent, getting the right talent at the right time. So overall, there's a huge business opportunity in this next couple of years, and we're all thriving now. So we were there before June, July, right, when we started this coronavirus, and then pandemic time, like from February, March, and April, May, right? We all got into business continuity process. Everyone got into that, and we were thriving, right? So what is it now? Like, organizations are thriving now. This is a new normal, whereas BCP is a new normal now. So what is that? Next is we should really look at business performance. How do you really get to the level of business performance? Moving from BCM to business performance management is something very essential now. Using the great tools that which we have and getting the right people engaged virtually worldwide, how do you get the business performance set? In fact, organizations challenge post the COVID-19 is something that which I ideated, which is something that critical demands that we keep getting it. Then we have the bench resources who are coming in, and also resources who are getting rolled out from the projects, right? So that complete talent supply chain within the organization, that how many you have extra resources, how many you have resources who are not engaged, and how many resources who are not earning revenue in the organization. In fact, during the BCP time, we all asked them to take leave and don't come to office. Probably you you don't take salaries. All those things started up, and now all their come back, right? Either they're going to be on bench, or they're going to be on the roll off pool. How do you get these resources at the same time? Get the just-in-time workforce plugin. What is this just-in-time workforce plugin? So here is a solution. In fact, less than 50% of workforce is built into the projects, right? And then non-availability of critical skill sets. Okay, we can't hire. And at the same time, 30 to 40% of the bench and expected roll-off of 25%, right? Then no time to reskill and upskill, right? So you want resources just in time. You want today, now, or as on yesterday, or as on tomorrow, that you want resources. How do you get? Introduce a model of just in time. How to really build that external pipeline in the community, external pipeline in the market. Besides, the pipeline which you have built with the bench and roll off, how do you build that capability externally? So this is a model that, let's take a deep dive. In fact, talking about a model which talks about business continuity, workforce management, BCP for workforce management. What is this like? Demand confirmation. You have critical demands. In fact, till the last year, we have been hiring big time. We have huge pipeline coming in, and we needed to recruit a lot of resources, right? Either freshers, and the most of the EFTs, all that. So by February, March, total pipeline has changed. Total landscape has changed. Your complete capacity planning and forecasting of talent is totally changed. So what is really required is you got to get new demands for the organizations. What are the new demands, right? Map them to the bench and supply the talent, and then expected roll off, and immediately get into the level where you have the short list of those resources from the external channel, or you have, for example, you have extra of 10% of the talent. You're not going to use them, whereas you're not going to fire them. Probably you can lend this 10% of resources to some other company, which is something very important one. Okay, how do you get, either you give these resources or take those resources from some other company and shortlist them, interview them, confirm the cost. Okay, then get the just-in-time resources. It happens in few hours. Like, I want a resource, I'll be getting a resource in just 2 hours, or maybe in 4 to 5 hours. Maximum end of the day, or maybe in 24 hours time, I'm going to get my resources as required by the projects, or for my engagement. How does this really work? Quick mapping of demands and supply. Okay, quick support from the bench were expected, and also from roll-off. Quick resource plugin model, just-in-time approach. Then like I was talking about virtual bench. What is this virtual bench? You need to manage. You need to have a resource who are on bench in your organization. Why don't you manage your virtual bench in your alliances, or maybe your vendors, or maybe like your your competitors. Your competitors have got 10% of resources. Why don't you take 20% of resources, and you build them, you're giving them the revenue. Okay, you're going to use those resources in the organization, right? And you make profit and they make profit, and it's a win-win situation. Let's take a deep dive. Okay, here is where the model works. I was talking about how this business continuity process and business performance process, which will really take it through, like building external talent pipeline. I have 6 companies that I've listed down here: TCS, Wipro, CTS, HP, IBM, and Infosys. Here is where I'm going to have either extra resources. At the same time, I have a demand where I can't hire, where I don't have approval to hire more people, right? I don't have approval to hire even single resource. How do I get my project running? How do I get my revenue plugins, right? How do I ensure my revenue leakage? All that you've got to do is just-in-time talent landscaping. You got to tie up with all these companies and build a bench and external pipeline where you exist. You have your talent exist in these kind of companies at the same time, and you give away your resources. This is a model that like it's already started working in Silicon Valley. At the same time, globally, everywhere they already started practicing this. I'm sure that this can really create a huge ecosystem as far as like talent share model, right? You need to have a resource hiring and training, and then then deploying, which will take a long time. Get resources who can definitely be plugged, who can be plugged and played, and you can build from day one. That's a model that which I'm talking about. Quick support on bench resources, quick mapping to the critical demands in the organization, and share your rollout, share your bench resources, so that like you get your revenue plug, and you don't really get to the level of losing the revenue. At the same time, like you're going to optimize the resources optimally. That's where you're going to build ROI model. And now, Let's talk about gig and contingent workforce, which is really, rising year on year, month on month, and most of the organizations talking about gig, but very few companies have adopted. In fact, labor market says, as per their report, 2010 to 2019, there's been a huge shift, and a lot of organizations are getting to have 70% of contractors and gig talent to run their businesses. This is a model that, which I'm talking about, fit organization. Let's take a deep dive. I'm going to have a problem statement out here. You can have a question, on this. Change in the organization's focus and priority for cost optimization. Everyone is really looking at this. Strategy approach from long term to short term, right? Talent landscaping. What is the purpose of the organizations now? Purpose of organization has changed from 6 months back and now, and also going to be in future, right? How is that, you're building internal capability and also external capability? If you're not building external capability, you're going to fail. And what is important for the organizations now is how do you really build ROI and moving from BCP to business performance model. This is something very important. I'm going to show one of the business case out here, one of the business cases here. Like recently I was researching about Infosys. Infosys is one of the fastest growing companies. You see that when I look at it here, mid-size talent pool is 49%, right? Then 13% of senior, and then junior is, talking about developer, senior developer, right? 38%. Mid-level is it's something that, have a big belly out, and this is like, fat organization. Trust me, companies like Infosys and companies like Cognizant and big time companies are still facing a problem of right sizing. They're not really, they're all matured in terms of like delivery, world class delivery, customer delight, okay, and providing the world class project delivery. They're not being looked at talent landscaping. They're still a fat organization. They're not really looked at, how much of revenue which they're losing in this process. 49% of mid is disaster. I want to talk about fit, fat, and weak organization. Like fat organizations, as I said, it looks like this. I have bottom line, right? And I have mid level of huge, at the same time, top level is thin. It's fine, but I'm not really making profit. I'm not seeing that, the revenue which is leaking, and also like I'm not really building the kind of right sizing the organization model. And I look at the fit organization as it should be, the model which really has a fit organization model. It should be the model of triangle model, right? This is a pyramid model, is where every organization should really look at it. And either in a consulting product companies or the services companies. I mean, this is highly recommended for fit organization. As far as the services companies are concerned, they should have fit model. If they don't have fit model, they're going to really lose either in this era, this pandemic, either like you perform or perish. And I talk about weak organization. Weak organization, they have less of FTEs, very less of FTEs, and they have a talent landscape of a very weak model. If you look at it, I'm talking about a cheaper talent cost, where 65% of cost. You take example of services industry, right? Where I'm looking at cheaper talent model. So if there is a case like you have 40%, 40 or 45% of FTEs remaining, we should have gig and contingent. And if you have 40% of 40% of FTEs, and then rest of it like gig and contingent, that is the fit model which you're looking at it. So lot of them are talking about gig and contingents, but very few have adopted. So this is a maturity model that I've just shared with you, that everyone talks about it, but very few have adopted and are struggling to adopt. I recommend this curve. In fact, all of my friends shared this like a model that how this gig model can no gig. You can take a pilot project, experiment it for a couple of months, see that like it works. In fact, most of the traditional organizations are like bigger organizations. It's really very difficult. Always say that like it doesn't work. Okay, the delivery team says like I want FTE 100%. Right? Even client says I want 100% of FTEs. They aren't compromise on the quality of the talent, but they are not really explored the gig and contingents. If you're looking at the mature organization and want your organization to make profit and work on the right margin and look at the ecosystem of the talent building and ensure fit organization, this is a maturity level one should really follow. With this, I'm done. If there are any questions, happy to take. Okay, so there's the last question from Tulika. How gig is different from contingent? So gig could be, gig could be contingent, or like you see that gig emerged from something where our part-timers, right, our freelancers work, and how like multi-employment, like I'm working for 3 companies where I'm billed maybe 25% in each company in a day, or maybe in a week 40 hours of my man hours which I'm spending, but I'm going to be splitting it. So that's how like like freelancers, part-timers, right, and contingent is something like where it is fixed time. Fixed time means like I'm going to be there for 3 months or maybe 6 months working for same organization or maybe for the same project. Okay, wherein he or she is billed 8 hours in a day or 40 hours in a week. Whereas like gig as a freedom, but gig could make more money than contingent workforce and then FTEs. Okay, a question from Soumya. Is this analysis before or after? So the analysis which I'm talking about is, like post-COVID, Soumya. And I also given a comparison of like how it was like, and the comparison which I'm talking about BCP, right? During the COVID, I'm talking about post-COVID, like, how do you move to the level of business performance, which is something very important aspects of it. And we need to really get there. Very few organizations are getting there. If they're not really getting there, they're going to fail miserably. Either they're going to make loss, either they're going to, have talent, more talent or less talent, right? If they don't really look at, the model which I talked about in fit organization. All right, with this, I close my talk. Thank you so much, Garima. If there are any questions, feel free to reach me out through Garima, or you can reach me out, in my contacts and LinkedIn. Happy to connect with you. Thank you so much.